Good morning.
Welcome to What's in the Box. Also, for what it's worth, I apologize for all of my 5 listeners. That it's been a while. Been busy.
Ghostbusters.
Some shit's
So
been
you're
going,
the one.
some shit's been going down.
Huh.
But I would kind of gonna go into what I was gonna talk to you about today, though. But so we're driving with my dad.
Yeah. What's in the box is mobile today.
Yeah. What'd you beep for?
I think that was Google.
Oh. So Cheryl's at home. We haven't done one in a while. I'm gonna do this one, probably one more, and then it's probably gonna be scattered until the new year.
It's a choice you're making.
Just so you guys know, it is a choice I'm making because if I
costs nothing to do this.
Yes, but it
sounds like you're a slacker.
It costs time.
Oh, come on.
Which I have a very hard time prioritizing because I get very yes, I'm going to do this every weekend, and I get very structured and into it, and then something happens, I'm like, man, I can skip it, and then it turns into a month.
That's laziness.
But also, as musicians will tell you, I also wait because then things happen to me like it did the other day. And I go, it would be really cool to talk about this. Then I call you and I say, hey.
I was going to make it really cool if we did it in my apartment because I have a new drug I'm taking that it's kind of high tech. You inject it in your stomach for your breathing.
Yeah.
And it's thankfully free to me because I was one of those, why do you keep seeing these commercials?
Yeah.
And
for the RX thing?
No, this is for the actual drug.
Oh.
And it says, if you need help getting this drug, scan the QR code.
Yeah.
So I stupidly did. Sent me to their website, had me log in and do everything. And it's like $300 a month, and it's now zero to me.
That's cool.
I know. So I have to do this every 2 weeks. And it comes in it's a cooler box, so it's about this big. So I was going to walk in with what's in the box.
So we can start, however, with how are you?
I've been better. I think you probably seen the message I sent out to a lot of people, that my friends, a couple of my friends, and my family is my thyroid cancer from 28 years ago has caught up with me and got me 3 nodules that looked, quote, hot, and so I had
rust spots.
Yeah, hey, there's a good call. Lung cancer surgery last Friday, a week ago, and I didn't think it was that bad, and then of course they tell you that we took him out and checked him, and it was cancer.
Well, you could have died, but don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, and they explained how painful it was going to be after the fact, and it hasn't been painful at all. So that's the good part. The bad part is I've been through this gig before, and I know what's coming.
Yeah.
And what's coming is you're going to have to go through radiation treatment, which is just shitty. I mean, people talk about chemo, and that's probably worse than radiation, but it's still not.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah, it's they inject me with radioactive iodine, which just a little bit, and that little bit will light up anywhere in my body that these residual effects,
and immediately attack you.
And it just shows it'll light up like it's there, and then and hope and pray. And I know this is not going to work. Hope and pray that nothing shows up. But I'm pretty sure something will, and I know exactly where it is. And when it does, they're going to hit me with a very big dose, and that big dose will wipe everything out. So it's kind of this sucks, and you have to get through it, and then you move forward again. Still knowing, like I did 28 years ago, still in the back of your head, it could come back. But I've looked at it, and don't get me wrong, because it's mentally taxing.
Yeah.
But you either cry yourself to sleep at night, or you say, this is the next day, and you can live it as best you can. And it's everybody's attitude, and that's mine. And if you want to throw your pity party and go, poor me, because I know people that do, that's you. That's not me.
So I feel like it's easier.
I might add one more thing.
Yeah.
I understand completely how blessed every day is to be. Back to you now. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So I will ask you when it comes to that, because that kind of segues me into what I was going to talk to you about anyway. But so, do you think it's easier for you to have that perspective now than it was, let's say, 30-some years ago?
Yes, and because
there's been so much time in between the first time and
you keep asking the whys. Why, the big why me is always a question. And I look at it this way.
Why not me?
Well, that might be part of it, is not necessarily a why not me, but okay, I have the attitude that can handle this.
Yeah.
Whereas I know some people that I couldn't, and there's a part of me that says, okay, I can do this. But 30 years ago, as I told you this story probably way too many times, is I thought I was Teflon John and nothing could touch me, and I believe that God smacked me upside the head and said, excuse me, I'm the one in charge here, not you. And so my question the last couple of weeks has been, okay, I know you don't have to smack me again, but it has, and you just deal with it.
Hey, maybe it's a perspective thing. Because I was going to talk to you about your positivity in life, and me and you have had conversations about that before. But I'm gonna start with I feel, and me and Cheryl have talked about this in a previous podcast. So if I say the same thing, sorry, but
it's just repetitive.
I feel like what you consume, not just food and drinks and stuff, but the people you have around you, and the things that you watch, and the things that you listen to, and the things that you consume in your life directly affect how you not just perceive the outside world, but put back into the world. Such as, if you, and this is not 100%, but if you're the type of person that sits at home and goes, poor me, I don't have any money, I don't have a good job, my wife cheats on me, whatever. And it might not be that extreme, but if you're a very down person,
negative,
you're going to be a very down person to other people. When other people are like, hey, do you need some kind of help? I'd be happy to help you. You're going to immediately be like, no, I don't need your help because my life just sucks, blah, blah. Rather than seeing the positive things in life, or seeing the handouts, if you will, not hand-ups, if you will, that life gives you anyway. And I feel like that has a big part of why some people kind of never answer the door, so to speak, where they just sit in that my life sucks, I don't know what I'm ever going to do attitude, who's going to do it for me attitude.
I was going down a road of what you were saying, and maybe I'm sure it's directly tied to your health. That if you have a positive attitude, then hopefully your health will be better than what it normally was. Whereas the opposite is true. If you have a negative attitude, you're going to be sicker. Well,
it is Mental Health Month.
Is it? Yay, me.
Anyway,
I need mental health.
But I've said that. People think it's bullshit. They do. I used to, but
Yeah, people don't believe in God anymore either. So
we're gonna get into that. That's my other thing. But so people don't really think it's a thing, but like going outside in sunlight and water, which is a big thing, are things as far as mental health goes. And I know your understanding of mental health is a little different than mine, but mental health goes, it's a perpetuating cycle. You can't get away from it. You can't stop having, somebody with depression can't just stop having depression. Somebody with anxiety can't just stop having anxiety. But you can do things to help bring yourself out of that. Whereas your depression stance of, I don't want to go outside, I don't want to eat, I want to do these things, or the anxieties that turn into anxiety attacks, both of those specifically, you can't get rid of them, but you can do things to shorten them. Whereas minimize. Whereas before all you were doing was sleeping and not eating because you were depressed for 2 weeks. You can shorten that down to maybe a week and 5 days, or maybe a week, or maybe just a couple days, or something like that. And it all goes with the environment that you put in. Winter is a big one. I was gonna post. I probably will post it sometime today because I've been thinking about it the last couple of days. But seasonal depression is a big thing, and when the winter months come, it becomes cold, which nobody likes being in the cold. It becomes darker later, so later in the morning, earlier.
Yeah.
So you're waking up in the dark. You're going to sleep in the dark. So all these things contribute to just normal person, somebody that doesn't already have depression or something like that, just feeling down and feeling drained and feeling like, well, I don't want to go outside. But even like small things of like going out to get the mail, or going to the gas station to get something, or whatever the case is, making those little efforts to go helps that. It helps you get moving. It helps you get out of that, well, I'm just going to stay in bed because it's fucking cold all day mentality. And I feel like the outlook of your life in a positive way also does the same thing. And you can wake up and be like, oh, I gotta go to work today, I don't want to go, I don't know if I'm gonna make enough money here, I don't know, blah blah blah. Or you can wake up and be like, that's what I gotta do. I gotta go to work, I gotta pay bills, I gotta go to work to pay bills.
And when I'm done, I can spend time with my family.
And when I'm done, I get to go home.
Yep.
And it's for me personally, and I wouldn't say that I'm perfect at it, because I mean it just happened to me last week. But reshaping the way that you think of things has helped me in that way, of thinking more of the positive side of that, instead of immediately, as we all do when something bad happens, immediately going to worst case scenario and being like, oh, this fucking sucks. But I've started reframing in those moments of like, okay, what do I get to do? Like, what is the positive part of this experience? I know this sucks.
I got to go to work to make money.
But like, yeah.
I don't want to go to work.
Or
I need the money so I can do this. So
I don't like going to work, but I do like this part of work. I do like doing this, or like things like that.
Because it gets me money.
I was gonna ask you, as far as, because you've had that mindset for a long time, as far as I know. Was there a thing that changed that, or have you seen a difference in your life since you started reframing that part of how you think of things?
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, that was a really long.
And you know, I probably said this before. Your mom taught me something a long time ago, and when you started talking about that, it popped into my head again, and that is, if you were one of them, you'd understand it, but you're not, and so you don't. Mm-hmm. So the depression thing, I don't understand it. I mean, I do, because I obviously have bouts of depression, and somebody telling you got cancer again, that's
It's not helpful.
Good times, you know. But you go, okay, like you just said,
Mhm.
okay, I got to go through this shit to get me to here where I want to be again.
Mhm.
Whereas when you were describing, I don't want to get up in the morning and I just want to stay in bed. I don't understand. I'll repeat myself. If you understood, you would, whatever your mom said. What I would look at is go, I don't get it. Why don't you want to help yourself?
Mhm.
So, as a good example, I understand depression. I understand mine is very minimal compared to a lot of people who have a huge amount of depression.
Mhm.
But if you're that person and you have a choice to say, okay, how can I help myself?
Mhm.
This isn't a good feeling. You got to recognize it's not a good feeling
Mhm.
unless you're comfortable being depressed, and maybe it is. But how can I help myself? Okay, first of all, doctors can help you.
Mhm.
And sometimes, again, I get it. But at least seek out the help and see what you can get help.
Mhm.
You said going outside,
Mhm.
getting vitamin D from the sun, getting into water, all these things help. Why wouldn't you do that? And that's what I don't understand is I know people, and I'm not going to point them out, you probably do too, who just want to sit there and bitch about my depression. And again, I don't understand the why don't you want to help yourself?
I've attributed this in I wouldn't say that I'm the best at it. I've had people in my life tell me that I'm better than most at it, which I personally don't think so. I think people don't really, my opinion, I don't think people really put in the work, which is why.
So what I don't understand.
Which is why.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Which is why. But I attribute it the same as relationships. And in relationships, you for your relationship to be healthy and functional, and for you to really understand how to symbiotically work together. You have to understand things about your partner, and they likewise. You have to understand their triggers. They have to understand yours, where those triggers come from. Sometimes past trauma that they don't know about, you two or them got to work through to try to figure out. Oh, well, me snapping at you about the dishes isn't really that I care about the dishes. It's that when I was younger, my mom used to yell at me that the dishes weren't done this exact way. So this is the way I always do them. So I feel that way when I see somebody else. Stuff like that. In relationships, to make them more functional, you have to work. You have to put in the work to do those things, and especially in yourself too, as well. You have to understand who you are in a relationship, and how you do things, and why you do things, and if that's really a good thing for you to do, or things like that.
Where you think you're giving and giving, and in reality,
it's the opposite. Yeah. So it's the same thing with yourself, and I don't know if it's an old school way of thinking that we're just stuck in, or if there are just people, like you said, there are just people that are wired that way, that just don't want to get better. They just don't want to be better. And their life is quote better for them if they're not.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And you don't know because again, I don't know because I'm not one of them. But maybe they're happy being depressed.
And I'm sure to some degree, somebody out there, I'm sure it is that way. But my whole thing, and I try to get people to do this, and I had to do this I tell people this all the time. It's not fun, personally. It's not fun to work through your shit. It's not fun to try to, the whole positivity thing that I'm talking about, or we're talking about, the whole positivity thing that we're getting to isn't fun every day, always. Pushing, not in the aspect that people think it is. I should say, it's not a wake up, like a 50s show of like birds are chirping outside. Howdy, neighbor. Like, sort of. It's not that. It's just your frame of reference for the day is different. It's not that you're not going to be sad or upset or shitty things are going to happen to you. It's
Somebody's going to piss me off today.
It's not. Oh, well, I'm thinking positive today, so my whole life is going to be. It's not how it works. It just shapes. It shapes how you perceive those things when they happen,
and how you react
to them. Such as that, the depression thing. You need to put in the work to understand how you deal with things and how you can maybe change or tweak those things. It took me a long time to understand how my depression worked, because I mean, my entire childhood, I had no roadmap of like what depression looked like or whatever. You know,
nor did your parents know how to help you either.
And that's what I was going to say. You know, I had you who in the same
positive son of a bitch.
Well, no,
Jesus, would you get off your high horse?
Well, no, in the same was never, and I don't like to compare those things, but not as bad as mine was. So you couldn't really relate in that way. And then mom never really talked about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Up to that point. And so it took me a really long time to kind of figure out what triggers I have, what happens when that happens, what are my kind of default modes when I get into depression or whatever. It took me a long time to figure that, to kind of do self-evaluations to kind of figure out what those things are. And now that I know, I can recognize it ahead of time. It doesn't mean it goes away, but
makes you better prepared to deal with it.
When I wake up for an hour to eat and go to the bathroom and go back to sleep for 3 days straight, like now my brain kind of triggers of like, hey, what's going on? Hey, yeah. Are you all right? Like to myself, like kind of like, hey, are you good? Like, are you like stressed out about something? And luckily, you know, I people watching this podcast probably sick of me fucking saying this, but I am very lucky.
Chopped down to 4 now.
I am very lucky for the wife that I have, very much so, because of those things. You know, we had, and sorry for this being long-winded. There is a point to the end of this, by the way.
Is there?
There is.
Well, let's get to it. Okay.
Sorry. No, but it's important. I am very lucky for the wife that I have, because we went into this relationship with the understanding that there are things that we are here for each other for. You know, we missed out on that in past relationships. We kind of rode our mental health alone for a long time in the past relationships we were in. You know, we kind of dealt with it as the old school frame of reference for mental health is.
And you don't realize how it keeps piling on and piling on. You just keep dealing with the shit that keeps piling on.
And so when we got in a relationship, early on conversations, we were like, we both talked about like, hey, you know, it was a big honesty thing when we first got together. We're just going to be honest, even if you don't want to hear it, even if you know we end up having at the time we haven't really had arguments through the 8 years now, but in the beginning, even if it does lead to an argument, we're just going to be honest, because we spent so much time in relationships of hiding things and not talking about things and whatever. So luckily I have a wife who also has mental health issues, and we're able to kind of check each other every now and then. She'll notice as well that sometimes like I'll get into that or she'll get into that, vice versa. And sometimes we'll be like, hey, are you all right? Like, do you need
put a thermometer?
Do you need a minute? Do you need a minute? Do you want to talk to us? And I think that's...
Oh, let me stop you there. So, do you have to notice that? Does she have to notice that? Or are you or she able to say, hey, I need some help?
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. It kind of goes...
Because a lot of times it's hard to ask for help.
It kind of goes both ways. I did want to get into sorry, that was the point of this. I did want to get into the ask for help thing because I was going to tell you something that happened to me yesterday that it kind of clicked in my head of like, all right, but so that's what I was getting at, is that yes, there are times where the other person can be like, hey, are you all right? And you know, we've learned, me and Cheryl have learned over the years of like, you know, your way of dealing with things might not be my way of fixing it, if that makes sense. You know, me and her had a conversation about arguments early on in the relationship. And you'll probably relate to this. I know you will, because we've had this conversation. But we were opposites in arguments in our past relationships. I've always had, because of you and Mom, not saying in a negative way, I'm just saying I know where it comes from, is that in my relationships, I was we need to fix this now. Because in my head, I was like, if I had convinced myself, in whatever way that is, that if we don't finish this right now, something worse is going to happen. You're going to leave, and that one person, long drawn out process, you're going to find somebody at the gas station because you needed a minute, and they're going to be nicer to you than me, and then
in that moment,
the whole relationship, that's our process. So I would fight. So we need to do this now. And there are some people that can't do that. There are some people that feel caged in that in that moment, and they don't think, and they just want, it's kind of like a rat stuck in a bucket. They just want to go wherever to get out of the situation. And that's how she was in relationships. She was in relationships with people that would do that, and that's how she would feel. She would feel...
You fight or flight?
Yeah, she would feel trapped, and she would just say the most hurtful, mean things to just get out of the situation that she didn't really mean. And so in the beginning of the relationship, me and her had talked to each other about that, about how, like, we're not going to do that. We've spent this, you know, and it also comes to what helps you in those moments. You know, there are times that I don't want to talk about it. There are times that talking about, you know, why I'm depressed or why I'm having a rough day or whatever, there are times I don't want to talk about it. It doesn't make it better. And likewise. And so her knowing that, you know, there are times that we've checked each other on each other's mental health and been like, hey, you all right? No, I'm going through some stuff. All right. Do you need me here? No. Do you need me here? No, I just want to spend some time on my phone. All right, well, I'm over here if you need me, you know, things like that. And I think that helps too, is having somebody. It doesn't have to be a significant other, but having somebody in your life that kind of lets you have your space, but still like, hey, I notice that you're going through it right now. But also asking for help as well, like you said. It's a lot easier, and I assume you know this, being in a relationship, it's a lot easier to ask your significant other for help than it is other people.
It is.
And I feel
just
bad
because of the comfort zone, you know what I mean?
And I feel bad for people that isn't the case, where they don't feel comfortable.
Because you're going to fucking judge me.
Yeah. Where they
meaning that other person that outside of your clique is that person you just know is going to go, and they're going to think about you. What the fuck is wrong with that guy?
And I had a moment, and I had a moment yesterday, because I've been sorry. This is a real big thing.
Deep breath.
I know that this is going to be like an insignificant thing to some people, but it's not for me. So Cheryl quit her job almost last year, right? Because she wanted to be home with Wyatt, and we were having difficulties with the girls because the girls were going back to school, and we both worked third shift, and the girls were getting too tired that they couldn't go to school, stuff like that. So there came an opportunity for her to stay home, and so I told her to take it, and so I've been the sole provider and everything, and it's been really difficult because I wouldn't say that I don't make enough, but I make more than most, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's like bare minimum, like rent, truck, gas, food. That's it. Like maybe
if you're lucky, cheap toilet paper.
Maybe
you can't buy the shark.
No, actually, Cheryl, You know what's funny about that though? Cheryl has been, and I've been in that mode too, but Cheryl has never skimped on toilet paper. Ever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how broke we are.
Good for her.
That's one of her things. Is she's like, I'll go without food.
Total sidebar to this too. Your sister used to make fun of me a lot, and now she goes, "Okay,
I get it.
I get it."
But I forgot. But so it's been really difficult, and I've been trying to, I've been behind on.
Push it aside.
Yeah, I've been behind. I've been behind on bills, and I've been trying to kind of juggle. Okay,
there's something down here that's gonna work.
Yeah,
but for right now, I got to get through all this shit to get to here.
And that's kind of been my mindset, and I'm sure it's annoying for Cheryl because we'll get real low to where we're eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I go, well, once we get to this check, I'll be able to pay this, and we'll get out of it. It's fine. And then
a week later, you're eating peanut butter and jelly.
And then something happens, and whatever. So,
and by the way, Lori, something always happens.
So I've been really just trying to push through it or whatever, and Cheryl has suggested well, do you want to try to see if we can get food stamps because you're the only provider, so we might be able to do that. And the Salvation Army has the food bank. We can do that. And my mindset was always I don't need that. And
I'm too proud.
It wasn't really. Well, yes, I'm sure to some degree it was that, but it wasn't really that. It was more of a I'm not that bad. Yeah, and I know how that sounds, but I understand that there are families that are not really that extreme, maybe, but are living out of boxes on the side of the road. They could use that.
Yep.
I am able to have a roof over my head that has gas paid that I'm just kind of short on getting a soda on the way to work. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I save that for that.
You're a donkey on the edge.
I don't really need that. And so like I said, I've been trying to push and juggle and whatever, and it got so 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, whenever the tire went out.
Yeah.
But we were down to $20 for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already borrowed money from you at that point. And I was like, it's fine. We just got to get, I get paid Cheryl got paid on Wednesday. I was like, I just need to get to Wednesday. Then I'll have gas money to get to Friday. And then we'll get the check and then we'll have enough to get through or whatever. And the tire blew on the side of the road. Okay, I can't drive the truck because the truck has no gas in it. I have no gas money. And now the one vehicle that I have to get back and forth to work to make money, I don't have a tire. And then luckily I had a donut, but that only lasts, maybe.
But let's get a little more detailed. But I didn't have a jack to put the donut on the car.
Which that fucking pissed me off. The fact that it has a jack but the wrong crank thing for it, so I couldn't do anything with that. But anyway, so I called you. That whole thing happened. You paid to get a tire on it or whatever. And then after that, which, thank you.
Sure.
And after that, I was super depressed after that. Because I'm like, fuck. What if something worse would have happened? What if the engine would have blew up for some reason? Or what if I would have been behind a semi and something happened and cars totaled and whatever?
And I already something happens to you.
And that too. Well, that came later. But initially it was just that. It was about the situation. It was the fuck. I have nothing.
I have no reserve in my
I didn't even have anything to if that gas wouldn't have worked out, you know what I mean? I would have had nothing. I wouldn't even had the $5 that most people keep emergency in case you run out of gas or whatever. I wouldn't even had that. And so I got super.
Hence the discussion we had about a credit card.
And super.
And not using it for.
Super depressed. I got super depressed and I didn't know how to convey that when I was talking to Cheryl about it, because she noticed, and she's like, what's wrong or whatever. And I didn't know how to tell her that because also I didn't want to burden her with that either because, I'm honest with her about finances for the most part. And, you know, she knows how much we have, and she knows how much we struggle to make to whatever. And I didn't want her to put that on, because I do want her to stay home. Not in a, like, I want the woman at home way, but, like, this is her last kid, and she doesn't want to miss it. And she missed so much with the girls that, you know, I want to give her that with Wyatt.
And I can't tell you how beneficial that is to Wyatt.
And so I didn't want her to take it on of like, well, now I need to get a job and I need to do this because he's really struggling, whatever. So I didn't know how to convey how I was feeling without it feeling that way, I guess. Which bled into everything else, I was super depressed about that. And then when it came to my job, because I was not dealing with it, so to speak, I started not caring about my job either, of like, whatever, it's just a job. I got lazy. I ended up I called in 2 days because I just didn't want to go to work. And I was like, I didn't want to get out of bed. And I was like, I'm going to stay home. So 2 days that week, I called in, went to work, and then got through that first shift. And I was like, the whole day I was just like, whatever, I'll just go through the motions, you know, not really paying attention, whatever. And then that second day, we were doing a changeover, and those who know about lockout tagout process, I know, I was a supervisor. I was an operator. I know the process. I know every machine in that fucking building, what you should lock out and what you shouldn't. But in the moment, I was just like, whatever, we need to get this done. I know what I'm doing. So I fucking opened up the machine, started fucking fixing something real quick. And my manager, which everybody thought I was going to be super pissed about this, and I was annoyed at the situation, but not pissed at her, because she has a job to do. You know what I mean? And I've never held that against her. She has a job to do. If she comes by and sees something, it's not personal.
You can't. I still have a job to do. I can't go, hey, Zach's a good guy and I like him. So but you're still screwed up, and you still need, not in a mean way. You need to be disciplined to know you knew better.
Yeah, that kind of hit upside the head, so to speak, of like, the fuck are you doing? So anyway, so she came by, she saw it, and she...
Sorry. Pause that real quick, by the way.
Hold on.
Good time to pause.
I'm having trouble hearing.
Me too! Again? Sorry, we had technical difficulties. Uh-oh. Oh, no, I'm still green. Anyway.
Am I still green? Because I'm more important.
Yeah. Okay, anyway.
Sorry, listener, you fell off the dash.
So anyway, ended up getting suspended.
Yep.
So, and
for
then...
how long?
For 1 day. Okay. But that also cuts off well, technically 2 days, but it was just 1 day on the check, but then there was Friday.
Oh.
So, which was my extra day that I was supposed to work. So I only got 2 days out of that entire check, right? And so I'm already paying half of rent, because I only paid the other half with the other check. I'm paying the truck payment that I'm already behind on. And gas and all that shit. And groceries that we don't have. And I'm missing almost an entire week on a check that I'm going check to check. Juggling shit.
Hold that.
Holding.
No, keep talking. You can multitask.
I don't know if I can.
I think you can.
Anyway. So I was super, like...
Okay. Well...
I was super stressed out about it.
Okay.
And the suspension kind of, like... I don't know if I would say clicked in my head, but...
Was a wake-up call?
It was more like a fuck. And so my pay stub comes, and it's more than what I thought it was going to be. And so I'm like, cool, right? So I'm not as stressed out as I was before. But we still don't have a whole lot of extra money. And so I told Cheryl, I was like, I don't know. I gotta figure something out. I was like, I don't really want you to get like a job or whatever, because I know that you like staying home. Wyatt likes staying home. I was like, but I don't know. I gotta figure out something, because like eventually it's going to come to head. And like Christmas is coming up, stuff like that. And if I can't even make gas, like there's no way, you know. And so she's like, well, why don't you call the food bank and see if we can go through there, what they would need, you know. It's like, it's at least worth a try. And so I did, and we went there yesterday, and they were really nice about it too. Which, you know,
that's a whole other mental subset is
I'll give credit.
Trying to go there.
I'll give credit to them that, you know, they're not like a judgmental, why are you guys here type of thing.
They're here to help you.
Yeah, and they really are too. It's not, you know, the mental part of it, of kind of convincing yourself, if you will, of like, okay, and that goes into the asking for help thing, you know, learning that, you know, I do need help. You know, I do need some sort of help in this situation, because I'm not doing it. And, you know, I'm not saying that it's you know, going to be a every week thing, or, you know, some like that, but just in the time of, like I said, kind of convincing yourself of like, okay, we need to do this, and knowing enough about yourself to be like, I'm not above the help. It's okay to ask for help.
I would circle back around to what you said before.
You're not lesser because you need help.
No, not at all. And I don't believe that. But to circle back around to what you said earlier, though, is kind of want to stop there too. To circle back around to what you said earlier was, you know, I'm not that person. The people living in a box on the street are those people, and I'm not that yet. And maybe you have to take a step back and go, yeah, okay, I'm not. But for this amount of time, for like a 2-week period of time, I'm going to need help. And then get back on track. And there might be 4 months down the road, and it might happen again. But you can't ignore the fact.
Well, it's kind of, it's in the same thought process as, you know, having bills too. If you get behind on bills, you can't just be like, well, I'm not going to pay that one.
It says smoked fish fudge. Ick.
You can't just be like, I'm not going to pay that one. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, they
don't go away, Lori. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to use names.
there's a thought behind it. Even if you're paying off in payments, okay, we're going to pay this amount this time. We're going to do this amount this time, whatever. And we're going to get it paid off. It's the same mentality of, okay, I might not need this every week or every couple of weeks or whatever the case is. But for right now, this is a means to help.
Yep.
This is a means to make things better.
A Band-Aid to get you
to where you need to be.
Yep.
And I think as a society, primarily, we need to stop thinking of it as a failure. Like, obviously, I'm not. There's another side to this, but obviously, I'm not saying, you know, get on government assistance and take all the food from the food pantry and all this stuff while you're sitting at home with a brand new fucking car and shit like that, all the time, and just sitting at home, you know, doing that. There's another side to that too, but I think we need to get away from this. It's I would say men primarily, but it's not just men. But this idea of I'm a lesser person because I'm asking for help.
Yeah.
You know, everybody needs help. Everybody at one point or another is going to need somebody else for something. Yep. And that doesn't mean that you're wrong or that you're failing or whatever. That just means everybody needs it.
Okay, I got to interrupt you on 2 cases here.
Okay.
First of all, if we would have went that way, some friends of ours took us on a motorcycle ride. It's like 30 motorcycles. And I didn't know where I was going. I was just following. But down that road on the left is the Wisconsin Motorcycle Memorial. And so let's say, God forbid, your mom and I get in a crash.
Are you setting up?
I know.
That's
Your mom would right now tell me. Your mom right now would tell me, "Don't put it out in the ether." But they have a memorial thing where people have bought, bricks, and they put them in. It's really, I don't know if we'd say it's hallowed ground, but it's really impactful to walk through. That was just a quick note. Not to get you off track, but you're here, and this has been bothering me the past few days, watching all the political ads.
You have your own 2 cents. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
People over here that everybody, according to the politicians, every other commercial, they're all pointing the finger at you. You're that person that the economy is so bad, and we can't afford eggs, and we can't afford milk because it's gone. So the prices have gone through the roof, and we can't, and oh my God, Joe, America just can't survive anymore. And I get it, because I've seen the prices at the grocery store. There's another avenue that I'd like to go down real quick too, is, you can still go to the grocery store. You can still cook dinner at home cheaper than you can going out to dinner. Yep. People don't get that either.
100.
Just because of the convenience.
100%.
I just want to go through a drive-through. I get it, but you need to get that how much that costs you. I
just went through McDonald's, and I'm really annoyed by this, and I know that there's like joke memes on Facebook about this, but this really fucking annoys me. A McDouble is $3.50. $3.50.
I bitched about that before.
For one sandwich.
But this is how I pile on to
fucking
that.
Ridiculous.
Zach. So your politicians are saying, "Oh, you're the poor guy. Everybody's poor. Nobody can afford the economy."
They get the same bread we do.
Let me ask you this: you ever watched an NFL game lately?
Yeah.
You ever watched the baseball playoffs going into the World Series lately? You don't see many seats that are empty, and they don't sell them for $5 a piece.
Yeah. Oh shit! You know how much
Taylor Swift is coming back to
I was just gonna say that
to Miami now, and it's they're all sold out, and you know how much those tickets are, and you go, oh, okay, how can all these people afford to do all this stuff, and yet you're telling me how bad the economy is? And no disrespect to you, because I know you have personal issues, but there's this one political ad that really bothers me. There's a lady, I guess you'd say probably making minimum wage. I think she's trying to raise her kids on her own, and I don't want to say this the way it's going to come out, but then you got to figure out you can't expect people to just say, okay, let's grab this lady and give her a bunch of money. You have to figure out your own life and what fits in your own life.
Well, also,
and again, we'll circle back around and go into fast food restaurants because I'm too bored, or not bored, but because I'm too tired. How's that? And I don't want to make dinner tonight, which would be a lot cheaper, but that's putting yourself in the problem that you are.
I'll not that I'm trying to get away from what you just said, but I'll push it one further. Is that I feel like it's not really the older generation, although that's what I'm going to say, but older.
Speaking of older generations, I had this anesthesiologist. I got to tell you about him later. He's wicked awesome, and he's an old Indian guy. Prayed over me. Oh, it was awesome, right? And Tiffany goes, "I know that guy. His name's Doctor." They call him Dr. A because his name's so long. And I said, "Yeah, that's him." And he goes, "Oh, he's really." Again, I'm gonna slow down for effect. Tiffany goes, "Oh yeah, he's really old. He's like 60." And then she looked and went, "Oh no, he's got to be older."
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Anyways. No, but I would say more so than the older generation, the older way of thinking. I would say that they need to get out of this older way of thinking of well, back in my day, we had a house and we had the white picket fence and we had this and whatever. Okay, yes, I get it. I understand that. That's fine. And I'm grateful that, everybody in that generation had their own house. However, we have to acknowledge now, that inflation over the last 5 years, especially over the last 10 years, inflation has gone up 115% in the last 10 years, and the 170 something in the last 20. We have to acknowledge that when we look at everybody struggling in the United States and be like, well, that's their fault. Well, that's their problem. Well, they're doing that too.
That's the man trying to keep you down too.
And
you're getting a raise, by the way.
And I'm not
but
saying
it doesn't equal
cost of living. Yeah.
Correct.
And I'm not saying that there aren't people like that. I'm just saying I think that older generation mindset of, well, they're doing that to themselves, we need to get out of. We need to look at people in a kind eye. We need to look at people in a realistic eye. We need to look at, me and you have talked about the similarities between, when you and mom got married and you were eating mac and cheese every night, and, me being married with kids and trying to figure out the food situation there and whatever. We as a society need to look at it of like, okay, maybe it's not their fault. It's the same thought process as
quit reading my messages.
As drug addicts. Everybody wants to point the finger and be like, well, they did that to themselves. Okay, there might be some that did, but you don't know how that happened.
Correct.
You don't know if it was a gradual process, if, some doctor gave them Vicodin one time for a broken arm and, that stemmed into other shit.
You don't back in, so I'm going to take some more, and I'm going to.
You don't know if that's family trauma that happened. You don't know if that's generational trauma that happened.
As long as I keep it more, then I won't have pain anymore. Even though maybe I don't have pain anymore, but I know by keeping it and taking it,
then it's not going to be there.
Yeah.
But I think we need to look at the United States and the people around us with a more loving way of thinking instead of so positive. I feel like the negative way to look at other people is a coward's way to look at people. It's easy. It's easy to look at somebody else and be like, well, that's their fucking problem.
Judge not.
It's easy to walk past a homeless person and be like, well, they did that to themselves. That's easier for you. That's a justifiable thing for your brain, so you don't have to think about it later.
Correct.
It's a lot harder to be like, hey, I wonder what their story is. Or, hey, I wonder what they were going through. Or,
hey, I wonder what I can do to help.
Or what I can do to help. Or maybe, maybe they don't really need the help, but it'd be nice if they, if I
give them $20, they're just going to use it on drugs.
Okay.
Why do you say that?
Well,
they're going to go to McDonald's and get a sandwich and feed themselves.
Okay. Also, I know that this is probably the wrong thing to say about that situation, but what does it matter?
Yeah, what's it matter?
What does it matter?
You're doing your part. What they do with it is their own business.
The opportunity for it not to turn out that way is there, and that's enough.
Correct.
And that's kind of.
But it's not going to be there if you never put forth the effort.
Yeah, if you, it's the same way.
It's the same way as the food bank helping you.
Yeah,
they don't judge you. They just say, let me help you.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know.
And you could take their food and walk out of the street and sell it for cash to get your drug money. But they don't look at it that way. They look at it that they're helping you.
I just think the way that we look at things is a very negative way. And it stems into
cynical way.
Yes, and it stems into how we treat others. And in my personal opinion, it feels like how we're shaping our country. That it's no longer there's a line I posted, Garth Brooks song, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a line that I posted because it reminds me of me and my brother in different aspects. And me and Braden have talked about this over the years. There's a line in We Shall Be Free by Garth Brooks that says, we don't reach for handouts, we reach for those who are down.
Yep.
And it reminds me of me and my brother so much because me and him have always grown up with the mindset of helping others in different ways and in the ways that make sense to us. And my brother is a very shirt off his back, like it doesn't matter if he's freezing in the snow, like as long as
you need help, he's there.
As long as you're good, he's good.
Yep.
Like doesn't matter what that means. And I'm more, and I have always been, I'm more of a like, how you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, do you need to talk about something? Sort of thing. And it's kind of but that line has always stood out to me because I feel like that thought process has gone away. I feel like that was a very, and whether it was a romanticized thought process of the United States.
I'm taking care of me. It's all about me.
Mm-hmm.
Me, and I don't want to point the finger at presidential candidates, but it's all about me, and nobody wants to put that hand out to help people anymore. They want to take care of themselves, and they don't care about you.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what we've molded the United States into. And like I said, whether that was a romanticized thought process of the United States and it really wasn't like that 20, 30, 40 years ago or whatever, we still had, as a country at least, we still had that thought process of like, we need to help each other, we need to do this. I'm gonna steal words from an interview that I watched because I feel like it's a point to make about this, about helping others. There's an interview, well, whatever. I was gonna not mention one of it, but whatever. There's a Jelly Roll interview that he talks about because he went in front of Congress and did his whole fentanyl speech. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen that, but I know the speech.
Yeah,
kinda.
He's in talking about how it's an epidemic, but he said he two things. He says that 100 or 200 people a day die from drug overdoses, a death. That's a 747 plane. If a plane crashed every single day, he's like, it would take 3 days max, where we're grounding all flights, whatever. We don't do that for drug addicts.
Yep.
But he's talking about that interview. But in another interview, he makes a point that I think is pertinent to what we were just talking about. Is that he says we have had multiple drug epidemics, and we keep getting them, and there's nothing being done about why we keep getting them. He's like, there was the cocaine epidemic, the pills epidemic, the heroin epidemic, the crack epidemic, and now we're on fentanyl. And that's just the ones that we're told about, that there's an epidemic. And yet we get to fentanyl, and still there's nothing being done about why we keep getting all these drug epidemics. That are epidemics. It's not just a couple people, dying here and there. Oh, they made the choices, blah, 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 whatever. They're worldwide, or they're countrywide, if not worldwide, epidemics that we acknowledge are epidemics, but nothing is happening about it.
I'd like to interject a stupid point right now. So I watched candidates going at each other. Mm-hmm. And this one person in particular both of them are millionaires. Mm-hmm. But he was talking about fentanyl. Mm-hmm. And he said, so what we need to do is find those people that are lacing these pills with fentanyl, that are killing these people, and put them away for good. And I'm going, stupid. How do you find those people? Excuse me. Are you doing fentanyl? Are you selling it to the high school kids?
I will more so, and this is why the fentanyl thing annoys the shit out of me. I will tell you a story that pissed me the fuck off. When Alice went into the hospital for her cyst or whatever, they were going to give her fentanyl without asking us.
Really?
Because of how much pain she was in. Granted, it would have been like a microdose or whatever. But
it takes one taste.
But if it wasn't, but that's what I'm saying though. Like they weren't even going to ask us. They said it as she was going into the ambulance as such a like
nonchalant.
Yeah, just like an off comment of like, well, yeah, she's in a lot of pain and whatever, so we're just going to give her this and it should be okay until we get there. And like even for Cheryl, it like triggered of like, you're what? You're going to give her what? No, give her like you don't have anything else.
Hell no.
That's what I'm saying. You can sit there as a candidate or whatever and be like, or as a normal American and be like, well, I don't understand how this could happen. I made the choice not to. I don't understand why. But it's shit like that for a presidential candidate. Fuck you.
Yeah.
On like, we don't know where this shit's coming from.
Yeah.
What the fuck ever. And as like a normal like American, it's shit like that. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's little things. Like, okay, I'm not saying that this would happen. But let's just say for the sake of argument. Alice is 9. She has the worst pain in her life that she's ever felt. Mm-hmm. Okay? She's had so bad a pain that she's going to the hospital in an ambulance. Mm-hmm. And they give her this thing that makes that go away. Mm-hmm. It makes her not in pain anymore. I'm not saying tomorrow she's going to be like, let me figure out what this is. But you don't think that's going to trigger the next time that she has pain? And you don't think continuously over her life that's going to keep triggering?
Yep.
To the point where she's going to be
this
like,
is what I need.
This gets rid of pain. Yep. This is what I do.
It's not a Tylenol. It's not an aspirin. I need fentanyl.
Yeah. And I'm not saying like immediately, but you can't tell me that doesn't happen.
Yep.
Anyway, not the point that I was getting at. But I think that we have so dehumanized people in this country and have gotten a mindset of just look the other way that we don't see people in reality anymore. And I don't know where specifically. I would like to think, everybody says COVID, and I'm a big proponent that was a big thing. But I think that only perpetuated what we were already moving towards, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think COVID, there's a comparison of, if you get rich, it'll show you who you really are. If you get money, it'll show you who you really are.
Yeah.
I think that's what COVID did. I don't think it made us into a shitty society. I think it just gave us the opportunity to show our way of thinking anyway.
Yeah.
On a mass scale. But, there's so many people that aren't able to see the human aspect of it, of the, oh, I've been there. Or, even something as simple as like going to the food bank of like, I just said this about me and you have talked about that. It would be really easy for you to be like, well, they just don't know how to handle their money. Or they got a brand new car. Why aren't they doing this or whatever? But for you to look back on and be like, oh, I've been there. I get it.
Yep.
Like I understand shit happens.
Zach, like I tell my kids, drum it in their heads and they still don't listen. Of course, your mom and I clearly remember the generic macaroni and cheese days. Mm-hmm. Clearly. And grandma and grandpa are being funny, aren't they? No. It's home, man. Mm-hmm. Been there. So I probably have to cut this in. You know what? I am going to cut this into 2 parts. So do you have last words for this? You got time? I ain't doing anything else.
All right, good. I'm going to end this. We're going to do another one.
Okay.
Last words?
Pertaining to
this.
I know this, but what is this? We went through a lot of different things.
Anything that we talked about.
Yeah, the biggest thing I can just keep repeating is everybody's got their shit. Be it cancer, be it I have no money, but it all turns around to how you deal with it or don't deal with it. But I'm not going to whine to you. Don't come whine to me. Mm-hmm. If you need help, I'll help you, but don't ask for help when you could help yourself. That's the biggest thing I want to say is help yourself. So, and I'm getting off on a tangent again, but I was going to say this is, so I make decent money, mm-hmm. Okay, me and your mom, but I still found an opportunity to make a little more money, mm-hmm. on the side, my side hustle, to just like fun money, mm-hmm. and okay, that's great, and it's worked for about a year, and in the past week, because I'm sitting at home doing nothing, mm-hmm. It allows me to think more than I should be. And all I can think of, Zach, is, okay, what's the next one then? What else could I do? And I talked to Tiffany the other day, and I'm like, I'm really considering looking at the stock market and do trading or something like that. You know, I have reached out to a couple recruiters to say, hey, look, I have a great job. I love what I do. This is what I do. This is how good I am at it. If you could find me a part-time job with another company, I don't need benefits. I just need a salary, and this is what I'll do for you, and you pay me this. I have the time to do that. And if you say you don't, I would beg to differ. You could find time to get a side hustle going instead of bitching that I can't do it. Again, there's that 4-letter word, can't.
And if you need, and part of what you said, if you need help in that time that you're figuring it out, and it doesn't even have to be, my personal opinion, it doesn't have to be like go get a third and fourth and fifth job or whatever. But if you are, let's say, juggling babysitting or trying to figure out, I worked this shift for so long and it's kind of worked, but if I try to move here, then this will kind of work, and you need help in between there, like I would say ask for the help. I don't know.
Get help if you need. Get help. Again, back to what I said. Help yourself
first.
Yes, but also, again, I'll throw this one in. There was a.
That's kind of cool.
It is. There is a family member of mine.
Little Sweden.
There are so many remote opportunities. There was a family member of mine who, for whatever reason, couldn't work. And out of the blues, they were offered a job to do scheduling for a production crew. And it was only 2 or 3 hours a day. No benefits, but cash. I can't take that responsibility. Then don't bitch that you don't have any money. Someone just threw something in your lap, and it's your choice that you chose not to take that. But the opportunities are out there. If the economy goes berserk, like supposedly it has, then you need to go berserk and figure out how to fix your situation. That's my 2 cents worth.
All right. Well, we're going to do another one.
Jams, wines, and pies.
Anyway, so watch the next one. Stay tuned. Feel free to comment. Give me your comments, what you think. Smash the subscribe button.
And
smash.
And thank you for your continued support, all 5 of you.
Hope
you're still with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.